Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Today, we start our descent into the pumpkin patch, where I have been for the past month already, so welcome to the club. This video will consist of the undergarments of this outfit, which are the petticoat and the shift. They are slightly fantastical for the 1830s, but they're whimsical and adorable, and I love them. So I think we can forgive them that.
I had this very pretty eyelet lace that I had gotten from a thrift store, but it didn't match the original color of the base fabric I was using. So this project got started with a little bit of tea staining.
Somewhere lost in the clouded annals of history lies a place that...
After boiling the water and letting the tea steep for a handful of minutes, I submerged my wet lace into the pot. I ended up having to do this twice in order to get the lace the correct color.
Who travel through the wood.
As I waited for the lace to dry so I could iron it, I started working on the base skirt. This basically involved cutting a really long rectangle and then adding a straight hem. Once I measured out the length I needed, which turned out to be about half of the measured lace I had, I cut and tore my fabric. Once the lace was finally dry, I French seamed the two parts together to make a very long strip. I ran a gathering stitch across the top of the lace after I ironed all the seams flat. Once that was done, I placed the lace across the base skirt and started to evenly distribute the gathering across it. I then sewed the two together and stitched up the back. I used a method for evening the bottom of the petticoat that I know was popular in the 1700s. That method is taking up the length in the waist before folding or cutting off the excess. was where I wanted it. I cartridge pleated the top and stitched it onto a flat waistband. Now that the skirt is made, it's time to start the very, very long process of embroidery. Now that the petticoat is finished, I can put that aside and I can start working on the shift. I'm using Bella May's Designs 1870s Christine Daae chemise pattern and adding my own little puff sleeves onto it. I had to make a handful of small adjustments to make this pattern fit me a little bit better from the last time I made it. All in all, it's a very good pattern and easy to work with. The two main things that I modified on this pattern was to shorten the straps of the sleeves, as well as to bring the arm's eye forward so that it didn't cut into my arm. Instead of putting this on the fold like the pattern originally says, I cut an extra ½ inch so that I could create a fold to place buttons on later. Once all 3 of the bodice pieces were cut out, I sewed them at the shoulder and under the arm. I then went ahead and hemmed the neckline as well with my machine. I then ran 2 rows of gathering stitches along both the top and bottom of both sleeves. After all the gathering was in, I sewed in the cuff band of the sleeve. Then, with quite a bit of fussing, I managed to get the sleeves into the bodice. Now begins the grueling process of putting in all of these pin tucks. It took me so long that you can literally see the light changing as I sew them. I started by drawing out the points of the pin tucks with a blue washable marker, specifically meant for sewing. I then used a ruler to help connect all of these dots and make really long lines to sew across. I ironed in the pin tucks before sewing them, and honestly it would have been faster if I ironed them all at the same time and then sewed them all at the same time, like I did with the second half of the skirt. But I didn't think of that until later. After the horrible process of sewing in so many pin tucks, I French seamed both sides of the skirt together. When I pleated the skirt onto the bodice of the shift, I was originally following the blue marks that I had put on for the width of the pleats, but I eventually just ended up doing it by eye. Once all of that was stitched together, I started putting all the buttons on. To finish it off, I added some lace at the neckline and the upper bust line. After all of that work was done, it was finally finished.